How's it going there, everybody? Hope you're doing well wherever you may be, whatever you may be doing. Just wanted to kind of touch base. Decided I'd make a video outside because it's beautiful, so it might be loud. It's beautiful wind, but I have like a wind guard over my camera to protect the speaker because there's nothing more annoying than making a video and all you hear is wind. So anyhow, I just wanted to talk about friends and family and give you guys kind of an idea of kind of where I'm at right now in my head, for what it's worth. To share my experience from last night, we went to see the Garcia birthday band. It's a Jerry Garcia birthday band. They're a Dead cover band, obviously, and they play a lot of shows around Portland. And last night they played their final show at the Mission Theater, which is a local McMenamins, which is it's a family that owns a bunch of different venues, and they kind of restore them, sometimes historic hotels and stuff. But this was a very small venue, and they're turning it into, I guess, a movie theater or something like that. But so it was their final show, and my good friend Scoey, who's a Deadhead, we said we'll take him for his birthday. So we took him down there, and we had a great time. Enjoyed the evening, listened to some music, and it was funny when we came back here. I don't drink and drive, so I had a beer while I was there. But even when I got back here, I didn't really feel like having any drinks, and didn't really party much at all. And I was up till like 4:30 in the morning talking, and it really got me thinking about how our moods are affected by who is around us, our surroundings, and that it's not necessarily, in other words, you don't need drugs to stay up all night and party. It's more of the connection that you have with other people, and that excitement about being around those you love and those you enjoy their company. So it was a great evening. We had a good time, stayed up, talked in the morning into about 4:30, got a few hours of sleep, and my brother came by, and I haven't seen my brother. Well, I saw him last week, but really hadn't seen him in months, close to a year, But we talk online, and I've actually shared some of his songs here on YouTube. But he did a podcast for a little while. They called it the Cellar Dwellers. It was like this thing they did for their frisbee golf. He plays, frisbee golf, and so he would share all his info and interview people and stuff. And I talked about what I do in my channel, and it's really funny. He just lives up in Hood River, about an hour away. And him and I are so much alike, of course it's ridiculous. And there's just like magnets, you tend to have, if you're too similar, sometimes it can be even harder to figure out, I guess. Well, let's just say we butt heads, we're both stubborn. But anyway, all that in the past, after chatting for a bit, we decided we'd do a podcast together, because we've been wanting to do that for a while, and he's got some good microphones and a good little setup that we can do. And both of us feel comfortable on camera, and we're the only ones that do. Like, I don't have any friends that I can interview or really have a sit down and chat. But of course, if you do that kind of stuff, that, like my brother said, you delete the first 15 minutes sometimes because it's just getting warmed up. Getting used, and that's why when I make a video, it's hard for I stumble around my words for the first few minutes, and then if I'll skip like into my videos a ways, I'm like, oh, okay, that's when I started really getting into what I was going to talk about. But anyhow, yeah, my brother came over, and then my mom dropped the kids off because they were over her house, and then my friend's brother came to pick him up. So there were like 8 of us over here. Like, wow, how often do you get that many people together that you haven't seen each other in a long time? And I don't know, it's fun. The one thing about relationships is it takes work to make them work. Okay, everybody knows if you have a spouse, then it's you have to both work together in order to have a successful relationship. And when people have good relationships as husband and wife, let's say, it's not just because they're lucky. Like some people say, oh, you guys are lucky you don't fight. It's like, no, we make it a point not to fight and argue, but it does happen sometimes. Well, same thing with your parents or your children or your friends, and you have disagreements. The idea is to be able to be comfortable about one another and expressing yourself. And when you truly find people that you can be comfortable around and really express who you are, that's pretty rare in this world. And so with my brother, he's like, well, we'll just talk about immigration or something. I was like, I don't know, it's a pretty hot button topic, but it's funny because we have many of the same views on things, and I think having somebody else to bounce ideas off of is going to be great for the channel. And I think it would be, I think it'll be a benefit for both of us to kind of share our ideas. But somebody that I grew up with, my brother and I had a lot of history growing up and kind of running amok, if you will, as teenagers or kids in the 80s. So here we are, And it was a great day, a great night. And I was just sitting here thinking, what am I going to talk about? And I figured I'd just make a video and just kind of go over that idea, basically of family and friends and how important that is to spend that time and how you get that natural high being with them. And also how, actually, I was thinking about cannabis earlier. I was going to do a video about pollen. That's what I originally, pollen and seeds, and I think I'll do that on a separate video. But, sometimes things just pop into my head, and I just want to share them. And that's what I love about YouTube, That's what I love about the internet. But at the same time, it can be, it can be an issue. And so, as far as internet addiction, somebody asked me to make a video on internet addiction the other day. So I've been kind of thinking it over, and maybe I should just kind of do that as part of this, since I'm already into it. Family and friends are what bring us away from that internet addiction. It's what take us away from, when we have relationships and we have connections. A lot of other addictions and habits fall away. Like I was talking earlier with my buddy, and we were talking about how I was saying, when people take iboga or ibogaine, sometimes it can reset your brain in a way, or even an intense psychedelic experience of any type can reset your brain, and afterwards you're realize you're not even craving something that you used to crave. Maybe it be alcohol or opiates. And the interesting thing is they don't even have any withdrawal symptoms, which that's the thing that people expect, and they're like, whoa, that's strange. If you can reset your mind, you can trick your mind. You can literally reset kind of your state of mind. So if you get into a circumstance where, let's just say, you have a daily routine where, you consume whatever your drug of choice is, and then something happens, there's a major fire, and then you're forced to, get your family to safety, and all these things happen, a week might go by, and you realize, oh, I haven't even used my drug of choice, whatever it might be, even caffeine, let's say, without suffering any ill effects because the person's adrenaline's flowing, because their, chemistry is different because of the situation. It's kind of hard to describe what I'm saying, I guess. When you put yourself around family and friends and people that you enjoy being around, the oxytocin, the bond between you, as well as the serotonin that flows, it's a natural evolutionary trait, an adaptation to bond us together in order to be better, happier humans, as a cohesive unit, if you will. And there are so many people out there who don't have that connection, and so they go to addictions and they fall into compulsions. And internet addiction, or being, addicted to just surfing the web, it's a very difficult thing to even talk about, because I could go on for an hour just about the different types. For example, if you and I both get up in the morning, make our coffee, and we sit down to our, what used to be a computer, but now would be our respective phones, and a lot of us do it, most of us do it, whether we're checking emails, whatever it might be. But let's just say, one guy goes on and he goes online and he starts doing his business. Another guy sits there and he starts reading articles, science articles, to learn some information. And then the third guy's sitting there on Facebook. Just because 3 people are on their phones doesn't mean 3 people are addicted to the internet or wasting time. The internet has changed how we do things. So a lot of the things that we used to do in person, we can't do in person anymore. We're forced to do a lot of our transactions. But only we can know if we're actually falling too far in and becoming what you might call addicted. Because it's easy to get wrapped up in a web page and another web page, and click this and click this. I mean, there's so many people who have nailed that in comedy, and South Park did an episode that was phenomenal about that. They called it the Buddha box, and where when you didn't want to hear what somebody was saying, they would just put a cardboard box over their head and their phones inside. It wasn't the box that was the focus, it was the phone inside. It just said Buddha box written in marker on the side. It's the idea that when you're on your phone, you're in your own world. And that's what concerns people the most. When you're looking at the internet, you're immersed in, the digital realm, which can be something useful and you can gain from it. But even if you're learning all the time, even if you're reading books, I mean, you can only learn so much. You can only benefit so much from being attached to the screen. So I think we could all use a little less screen time. For me, it's weird because if I'm not behind a screen or doing something else, a lot of the time I'm still behind a camera screen, and it's a strange thing in itself. I don't feel like that kind of fits the same category, but in a way it does. It's interacting with a digital device for some purpose. So I guess what it comes down to is only we can really know. there are some people who have serious compulsions, and it makes it very difficult for them to not go online. Dopamine issues can cause people to even gamble, intensely, or have serious addictive problems. So Parkinson's patients have been found to gamble heavily when they're taking their medications. So the mind is fickle, but it's strong, and it can put up to a lot of stuff. I guess the message I'd like to take away here is connect as much as you can with those you love and those around you. It's easy to withdraw. I tend to be, as much as you might not think, but I tend to be kind of withdrawn and in my own, let's just say I'm an introverted person. When I get to talking and I get to know you, I love to chat. I talk your ear off, but before that, I'm not the kind of person who just warms up to small talk and random strangers, and I feel kind of awkward in certain social situations. And my brother and I were talking about this earlier. He's like, why sometimes at the store I just want to talk to everybody. We were talking about microdosing psilocybin mushrooms. He was saying how, when he's on certain situations he doesn't want to talk to anybody. In other situations he wants to talk your ear off, talk to everybody, and it's finding that equilibrium. But if we find connections and we want to interact with people, it'll make us more likely to go talk to a family member or a friend than to be on our phones. Sometimes it's just awkward silence. There's nothing to say. Even with those you're closest to and those you live with, who are, you might have interesting conversations sometimes, but how much can you talk with people, And so then we start to feel guilty for being online or whatever we're doing. It's no different than being in a book or looking at playing with one of those little handheld games, or playing solitaire, or any of it. It's all pretty much the same thing. We do our best to enjoy this life and try to control our compulsions. And don't forget we're human. That's all. I'll talk to you all later. Thanks for watching. Hope I made some sense here. Only got like 5 hours of sleep, and that's not enough for me. Be well, peeps.